Welcome to The Life of Hair. My name's James Atkinson. Thank you for joining me in this week's episode. Now, in this week's episode, I've got a fantastic commercial pixie cut, I suppose, or a creative adaptation of a pixie cut that I did on my client very, very recently. And it's one of those haircuts that I think some people are afraid of because it's quite short and it's got horizontal graduation, but it's very subtle, so it's not that really heavy kind of Princess Diana horizontal graduation. Easy to wear end results. Now, I have been an educator for many years now, and I know for a fact that there's a lot of you out there who are afraid of going really short. So in 2020, I'm going to focus on really short haircuts for you for a while and really try and cement your knowledge in that area. So I hope you enjoy this, and if you do, then do hit that subscribe button, smash the thumbs up, and I'll see you again next week for another episode of The Life of Hair. So I simply pre-sectioned this technique using a horseshoe section that ran through the parietal ridge. Now you're seeing me section off from the midway through the top of the head down to the back of the ear. I'm then taking a horizontal section that I'm elevating straight out from the head shape, and I'm cutting a square line. I cut once, I check that I have got the appropriate length that I want for my technique, and then if it is slightly too long, I will then go back and recut it to suit my needs. I then take my second section that is another horizontal section and I pull it down onto my first section, and I do exactly the same thing with my third section. This will give us horizontal graduation throughout the sides. To connect this into the back, I simply take a diagonal section that mirrors the hairline and I cut a shape that travels around the head shape. This will build up graduation into the back. I then take another 1 centimeter section that is next to the previous section and I cut it diagonally, aiming towards the nape area. I pull each section onto the previous section to build up weight towards the crown and in the occipital bone, to give that beautiful build up of graduation in the occipital area. I do exactly the same thing on the opposite side. I take a section that runs down to the back of the ear. I take about a 1.5 centimeter section that is horizontal and pulled straight out from the head. When you've cut this section on this opposite side, double check for balance. It is really important to ensure that you're exactly the same length on this first section as you are on the opposite side, as it will affect the whole haircut if you are not. Then we simply take horizontal sections 1.5 centimeters in depth and pull them down onto that very first section. The first section will always be horizontal, straight out from the head shape. Double check that you have got even balance and everything is all present and correct, and if you have, then work your way into the back. We are doing exactly the same thing as we did on the opposite side, taking a diagonal line that mirrors the hairline, and we are cutting that line travelling towards the nape area, and each section is over directed. That means that section 1 is pulled straight out from the hairline, section 2 is then pulled onto section 1, section 3 is pulled onto section 2, and then you repeat that process until you run out of hair. This particular technique will build up a beautiful, soft, round, graduated shape, and you will not get excessively heavy shapes built up because of extreme over direction. Always work over the centre back of your sections to make sure that when you come from the right hand side or to the left hand side and vice versa, that you have eliminated any build-up of weight in the centre back. This is really important for continuity and balance in the nape area. After this, I always try and treat the crown area and this triangle that you see in my left hand at this point in time as a sort of separate entity, because the crown area can be very tricky to deal with. So I always make sure I cut this area under zero tension. In this particular instance, I am just pulling the hair straight out from the head shape, and I am using a layering technique that mirrors the shape of the head. Cross-checking is very, very important. Always cross-check your sections as you go. Once I have cut that back crown area, I am then going to comb the hair into natural fall. And I'm going to simply take horizontal sections relative to where I am standing and pull them straight out from the head shape. This is going to create a graduated to square layer shape. This will make the top softer and less heavy. If I wanted more weight, I could pull them down onto my previous section, but I don't need all that extra weight in this particular instance, and I do not want it to be a really heavy end result. Onto my favourite part of every haircut, and something that I allow an awful lot of time for, especially when I'm cutting short hair types: refining. Refining for me is so ultra important. It's what makes the difference between me and the stylist standing next to me, or the stylist down the road. I think this is where a lot of people could spend more time. I spend around 20% of my haircut just doing the wet basic shape, and I spend another 20% of my haircut drying it. But I spend 60% of the haircut refining, cutting dry hair to make the shape fit to the client's head. You will see in the back there that I've carved a strong hairline, and now I'm going through and texturizing and making the hair fit to the client's head, using point cutting, slicing, and even picking pieces of and just cutting them away to make everything work seamlessly for the client as her hair grows out. These details do not go missed and are very, very, very important in my opinion. So if you're currently not doing a whole lot of personalizing, maybe it's time to start practicing maybe just one element of this personalizing techniques you see. The slice cutting, for instance, that I do just to take the weight out of the hair, or channel cutting as some people call it, makes an enormous amount of difference to the texture and the usability of a haircut. Point cutting is also a fantastic technique to remove weight. And in this top section, I love to channel cut. It creates a beautiful texture that is easy to wear for the client and is easy to do for you. And it stops that thin on the ends and thick on the roots effect that you get when you exclusively use point cutting. However, I will always use a bit of point cutting because I think it's invaluable for creating separation and diffusion at the roots. But you will note I'm currently removing length whilst I point cut. This is where I most use point cutting techniques. I don't cut straight into the hair. I hold my scissors at a slight angle and I remove length and weight simultaneously. Refining techniques are super personal. They are definitely a personal taste thing. I don't think you can say it's personal taste to not do it. I think every client should have their own amount of refining done on their hair to personalize it, 1, to their head shape, 2, to the technique that you enjoy using, and 3, to put your signature style on it. This is the finished look. I hope you enjoy it. It's a little adaptation of a pixie cut with a little bit of horizontal graduation. And I used the horizontal graduation in this particular instance to create that soft texture around the ears and that beautiful texture through the top. A build-up of weight and shape that I think absolutely complements my client's face shape perfectly. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you have, then please hit that subscribe button. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed. It is an honor to bring these videos to you. And don't forget, smash that thumbs up button so other people can enjoy these videos too. I'll see you again next week for another episode of The Life of Hair.